You wake with the dry, heavy scent of ancient papyri swirling lazily in the thick, stifling air. The cold stone floor presses uncomfortably against your bare feet. A subtle sting that rouses the dull ache threading through your limbs from restless hours without true rest. Endless rows of fragile scrolls stretch before you, their brittle edges whispering secrets the desert sands would bury forever. This library, hidden away beneath sun-scorched land, holds the forbidden knowledge you are sworn to protect. The weight of silence presses down, thick and unwavering, as each breath drifts heavy and slow. Around you, the whisper of wind threading through cracked walls hums a mournful lullaby, merging with the creak of ancient cabinets protesting centuries of stillness. Your fingers tremble as they tighten around worn keys, metal, dulled by time, yet heavy with the burden of their secret. You smooth the rough fabric of your tunic, feeling its coarse threads bite softly against your skin. An awkward armor in the endless vigil. Like a night shift guard, waiting for a bus that never comes, you settle into the monotonous rhythm. Weary, but resolute. You step forward. The chill of each stone underfoot travels upward. Numb toes, careful, careful, while your eyes scan the endless scrolls, each a mute sentinel. Checking the lock again. The cold metal pressed beneath your thumb. You turn it left, then right, then left once more, confirming the seal. Locked. Like rebooting a stubborn device, again and again, seeking assurance where none should be doubted. You slide your gaze over every parchment, tracing faded ink as if the letters might shift or vanish if left unobserved. But then, a new sound, a faint shuffle against the hush. Not the usual groan of aged wood, nor the breath of the desert wind, but something soft, deliberate. A shadow flickers beyond your peripheral, dissolving like mist. Your heart stills, breath caught suspended in the stale air. The silent watch fractures for a moment, and the weight of your task sinks deeper, colder, before Morpheus steals your awareness deep into that ancient dusk. Take a moment. Check if you're still subscribed. Sometimes the button disappears when you need it most. A gentle tap on like would be as soothing as a soft pillow to this endless night. Share where you listen from and what the hour is for you. Your presence keeps this quiet refuge alive. Thanks for being part of this whispering calm. You shift your weight with deliberate slowness. The cold floor beneath your feet, a subtle ache that anchors you in this silent sanctuary. The weight of those worn keys still lingers in your palm, a tangible reminder of the heavy trust settled deep within your bones. The scrolls stretch endlessly around you, parchment and paper paling with age, the ink faded like whispers, only half remembered. You breathe in the dusty air, tasting dryness and the faint hint of something older, a scent like forgotten sun and brittle leaves resting underfoot in some distant, quiet forest. Fingers brush over the brittle edges of the nearest scroll, careful not to break the fragile fibers. Your skin feels the minuscule ridges of the papyrus, rough and uneven, the contours telling stories of their own. Time leaks here as slow as the desert wind outside, which hums softly through the cracks in the stone walls, threading a chill that brushes past your neck and down your spine. The silence feels almost too complete, a heavy velvet shrouding pinned to this subterranean world. Moving forward, your footsteps echo, a dull, hollow tap that reverberates faintly and then fades into nothing. The stones beneath your soles carry the chill like an invisible river flowing upwards, as if the cold itself rises with each cautious movement. You steady your breath, slow and even, feeling the rhythm of your pulse at the tender points on your wrists and neck. An invisible watch keeps beat with the steady hum of ancient history pressed tight against you. Your eyes roam the labyrinth of shelves, scroll after scroll, each a frozen moment in ink and fiber, a ghostly record of voices long since silent. Your gaze rests on a single cabinet where the wood seems thinner, more worn by time and touch. The grain curls and twists like the fingers of some patient creature, holding secrets beneath layers of dust and shadow. You lean in slightly, inhaling the sharp tang of aged cedar, mingling with the more subtle musk of paper. The faintest trace of lavender, an old remedy you suspect, left long ago to ward off decay. A pause. The stillness shifts as you catch a soft sound again. A subtle scrape, like fingernails against stone, but lighter, hesitant. Your breath hitches without intent, muscles tense in that brief instant between sensing and understanding. The air seems to thicken, pressing in around you, weighted and expectant. You bend low, fingers grazing the floor's flaky grit. The dust stirs faintly, a dry cloud swirling at the edges of your vision before settling ghost-like back into static calm. You lift your eyes slowly, scanning the muted shadows that cling to the far corners. Shapes shift, soft, like smoke curling in slow currents, too indistinct to name, but enough to unsettle the quiet. You remind yourself to keep steady, to breathe, to keep the vigil in the calm steadiness of long nights, guarding forgotten truths. The cold is sharper now, sneaking across bare skin, urging you to move deliberately, to avoid sudden motions that could betray your presence. You slide your fingertips along a column of chain scrolls, faint metal links catching the fragmented light like dots of dull silver. Each link is cool, biting softly into your fingertips, a constant tactile measure of the lock's unyielding grip on the knowledge it guards. Step by fragile step, you move deeper into the archive. The air grows heavier here, thick with the scent of cracked leather bindings and the faintest thread of candle smoke. Something burned long ago, but never quite forgotten by the stones. You feel the weight of eyes that aren't present, the echo of watchers now vanished. There is a silence that breathes itself, a careful holding of secrets so fragile that even sound tiptoes through these halls. Ahead, a narrow passage widens just enough for a single breath to spill through like a quiet sigh. You pause, the rough stone wall cool against your forearm, the uneven surface whispering grainy tones beneath your touch. The faint hum of the desert's slow wind slips through a crack above, carrying with it a distant, skeletal rattle, perhaps dry branches scraping in the breeze beyond the buried sun. Once, you might have shivered at such a sound, or imagined dangers lurking just beyond sight. Now, it's a part of the rhythm, as regular and inevitable as your own heartbeat. You focus on that beat, steady and low, its measured pulse guiding you through the cavernous dark. Your gaze falls upon a small parchment slipped partially from a scroll, a fragment that seems to pulse faintly with remaining ink, nearly invisible lines curving like fragile roots beneath the skin of the page. You reach out slowly, the tips of your fingers trembling with the care of a laborer tending to delicate seedlings, and trace the faded script. The letters blur and sharpen in the dim light, revealing a word carved in cryptic hesitation, something unfinished, waiting. You lean closer, breath shallow, feeling the fragile history vibrating just below your skin. A quiet summons, lost on the wind. Suddenly, the soft scrape returns, not from another shadow, but behind the wall itself, the stone's murmuring secrets you cannot quite hear, but instinctively understand. The air grows cooler still, a breath brushing past your ear, like a forgotten name, spoken just out of reach. You pull back slowly, the scrolled fragment resting in your palm, like a whispered promise. The silence settles once more, heavy and endless. But something has shifted, a thread loosened in the fabric of this ancient place. As you turn to leave, footsteps echo faintly, just beyond the threshold. Slow, steady, deliberate, but not your own. A shadow detaches from the darkness there, watching, waiting. And then a soft sigh drifts through the cool air, promising the night is far from over. The footsteps fade into a softer echo as you freeze, muscles tense beneath your skin. The weight of the shadow lingers in the corner of your vision, an intangible presence just beyond reach, like mist curling uncertainly through a window left ajar. Your breath holds steady, deliberate. The stale air seems thicker now, mingling with the faint resinous scent of cedar, lingering from the ancient shelves. The faint creak of wood somewhere deeper in the archive responds, slow and mournful. a quiet acknowledgement of your vigilance. You turn deliberately, slow enough that the chill stone floor beneath your feet presses its cold sting into your soles, rooting you in place. Your fingers graze the cold metal of the worn keys again, the rough edges biting softly into your palm, reassuring in their familiar weight. The scroll fragments in your other hand feel fragile, like the fragile promises of this hidden place. You press them close, a shield against the growing silence that wraps around you like a shroud. The gentle hum of the desert wind outside threads through cracks in the stone, drawing your attention. It carries a whisper, barely more than a sigh, and with it, a faint hint of lavender. Sharp and sudden, like a breath caught in the back of your throat. For a moment, the scent sweetens the heavy air, a quiet comfort that pricks your memories without revealing their shape. You step forward with careful slowness, your footsteps a muted rhythm against the floor, each one a deliberate measure in this dance with shadows and silence. Fingers trace the rough grain of a nearby cabinet, worn smooth from years of touch. The wood's warmth, the subtle contrast to the cold stone. A thin film of dust stirs beneath your touch, drifting slowly, almost suspended in the heavy air. Ahead, the narrow passage narrows further, the overhead stone low and rough against your fingertips. As you steady yourself, the quiet scrape returns, softer this time, hesitant, like a secret being half-spoken. On the edge of understanding, you listen, heart steady, watching the shadows pool and shift along the edges of your vision. The faint rattling sound of brittle leaves in a dry wind swirls just beyond the threshold, folding into the ambient silence. You retrieve the scroll fragment from your palm, fingers trembling slightly, despite your effort to remain steady. The faded script catches dim light and shadows, weaving pale lines that seem to shift like restless roots beneath ash. You lean close, breath steadying, tracing curves that hint at words lost to time, meanings half buried in ink and parchment. A delicate thread of doubt threads through your calm. You place the small fragment reverently back among the chained scrolls, the cold metal links gleaming faintly, each link a silent sentinel guarding. Secrets too delicate for the sun. You exhale, feeling the pressing weight of responsibility settle across your shoulders like a heavy cloak. The air chills anew, slipping past your bare skin like a whispered warning. You pause, turning slowly, eyes drawn to the flicker of movement near the edge of the archivist's lantern's glow. A shadow detaches itself from the deeper gloom, indistinct but deliberate, stepping quietly closer with the slow patience of a predator stalking unseen prey. The faint scrape repeats, fingers against stone, but now the sound is accompanied by a subtle, rhythmic tapping, steps measured and controlled. You swallow the quickening pulse in your throat, muscles coiling tight beneath your tunic. The ancient texts around you seem to breathe softly in the dim light, each parchment a frozen echo of voices long silenced, yet somehow still watching. The faint musk of candle smoke rises from somewhere deep within the archive, mingling with the scent of cracked leather bindings and the faintest trace of something sharp, like whispered danger on the wind. Moving deliberately, you drop back into the shadows, letting the light fall faintly on your fingers as they brush against the cool, uneven stone walls. The rough surface grounds you, the cold bites gently, and with it comes a fragile sense of solace amid the tension. The slow sweep of your breath fogs the chill air, fading almost immediately as you round the corner into a wider alcove, where a faint glow pulses weakly from a lamp long forgotten. A sudden warmth seeps into your chest, a small flare of hope amid the cold vastness. The glow reveals a parchment scroll resting on an ornate stand, its golden edges catching the lantern light softly, a quiet beacon in the darkness. You approach with cautious reverence, the soft rustle of your tunic blending with the inaudible hum of ancient knowledge pressed thick in the air. Your fingers close around the scroll's fragile wood core, the smoothness, a jarring contrast to the brittle feel of the papyri surrounding you. The scent rises then, a faint jasmine, delicate and distant, as if preserved from another age, an echo of beauty in the midst of endless watchfulness. Your breath lingers over the scroll's surface, tasting the quiet promise it holds. Yet beneath that fragile glow, your senses sharpen again. The faintest scrape returns, closer. Now, a breath hitching in the silence near your ear. A slow, deliberate movement shadows the edges of your vision, spectral and unreadable. You remind yourself to breathe, to anchor yourself here, in this moment, surrounded by stories and shadows and waiting. The heavy stillness is pierced once more by a whispered sigh that rises and falls like a gentle tide, mingling with the desert wind threading through the cracks overhead. The night is far from over. Somewhere, deeper in the silence, a soft voice breathes your name, unheard yet unmistakable, drawing you back toward the shadows, waiting just beyond sight. You hold the fragile parchment close, your fingers curling gently around its brittle edges, cautious not to let the faint ink dissolve beneath your touch. The cold stone beneath you seems to pulse faintly, a heartbeat in the still, dense air. Each breath you take is slow, deliberate, tasting the ancient dust that settles lightly in the corners of the library, mingling with the subtle perfume of jasmine and lavender, lingering like memories never forgotten. The silence envelops you again, thick and unyielding, yet beneath it something shifts, a barely perceptible stir in the shadows. Your gaze drifts toward the faint glow pulsing weakly from the rusted lantern in the alcove ahead, its light flickering and casting elongated shadows that dance along the aged stone. The shadows are alive in their movement, curling and stretching, as if exhaling slow breaths you cannot hear, but can feel pressing softly against your skin. The quiet scrape returns, the sharp, uncertain tick of fingernails tracing stone, each whisper like an echo of something just beyond your grasp. Your muscles coil tightly, the weight of vigilance settling itself once more into your bones. Careful to disturb nothing, you edge closer to the alcove, where the soft amber light seeps out, illuminating wood grain and cracked scroll bindings. The air carries that faint, almost imperceptible scent of burnt candle wax, mingled with the musk of old leather and the distant crispness of desert air slipping in through unseen cracks. Your fingertips brush against cold metal clasps on a nearby cabinet, their edges worn smooth by centuries of touch, grounding you as you steady your breath. A slow pulse thrums at your temples, syncing with the low creak of bending wood and the distant murmur of dry leaves, scraping under unseen feet. The sensation is almost hypnotic, the rhythm of the archive itself, alive beneath the weight of time. You feel the supple grain of the cabinet's wood ripple beneath your fingertips, warm against the lasting chill of stone. Patience gathers like a heavy cloak wrapped around your shoulders. The smile of a distant memory, or perhaps just shadow, flickers and vanishes as movement pulls at the edge of your vision. You stiffen, rigid beneath your own skin, every nerve alive with the knowledge of a presence not meant to be here. The silence is no longer comfortable. It's heavy and sharp, sliced through by the soft drip of fear, cooling your sweat. Your heartbeat settles into a careful, slow cadence. Echoing steady footsteps, drawing near, you shift position slightly, the cold biting to your bare soles as each step presses down carefully on the stone floor. The papyrus scrolls, standing guard on their chains, are silent sentinels, their brittle fibers whispering secrets only you remember to hear. You trace your fingers along the metal links, feeling cold steel bite softly, the cool bite a reminder that knowledge is locked away beneath layers of duty and caution. The scent shifts again, a sudden breeze twisting through the cracks, carrying with it the faintest wisp of something green and living, perhaps the coolness of a distant grove, or the faintest breath of rain-laden earth. The contrast is sharp against the dry, heavy dust of parchment, a brief flicker of life in the unyielding stone sanctuary. The whispers of the past circle you like smoke, curling and pulling, inviting yet warning. You settle briefly onto the rough stone bench nearby, the cold against your calf sharpening focus amidst the encroaching shadows. Your fingers linger over a carved symbol etched deep into the bench's surface, an unfamiliar pattern, delicate and worn smooth. Tracing its curves, you feel the weight of countless watchers who once sat here before, guardians of knowledge and silence. their vigil folded into the very mortar beneath you. The scrape surfaces again, closer this time, deliberate and slow. A fragile thread of sound, weaving itself taut between your will to stay calm and the need for action withheld. Your breath catches, held tight as ancient dust, and you remind yourself to listen, to float within the calm storm of suspended time. No sudden movements, only measured steps through the unfolding tapestry of silence. Ahead, the narrow corridor stretches, its walls pressed tight with the faded murals of forgotten stories, the pigments soft with years, yet shimmer faintly under your steady gaze. Each brushstroke fades like a fading heartbeat, a slow dance of color and shadow. The trace of a breeze stirs the curling corners of a loose scroll, the rustle soft as a whispered secret brushing past your ear. You reach out, steadying the fragile paper, letting it fall open to reveal a pattern of faded script, delicate beyond belief, like frost on glass. Your mind sharpens with the thrill of discovery, the weight of hidden knowledge heavy in your hands and heart. But just as you lean in, the thin veil of silence breaks once more. A breath, soft, deliberate, slipping past the stone. A shadow, folding inward near the edge of your vision. The faint scent of lavender curls anew, sharp and keen. You stand, poised at the threshold between mystery and the waking world, fingers tightening around the scroll like a lifeline. Then, beneath the ancient ceiling, carved deep with time, a voice murmurs, just beneath hearing, a name drawn out on a breath like a fragile thread. It coils around your senses, pulling you deeper into the dark beyond, where the night holds stories still half-written, waiting in the cold hush of the archive's deepest chamber. The air hangs thick with quiet, each breath slow, deliberate, as you press deeper into the shadows cast by the flickering lantern light. The fragment of parchment, cradled carefully. In your palm, trembles slightly beneath your fingers, as if it too carries the weight of this moment, reluctant to surrender its secrets. Around you, the library breathes in patterns older than the desert, its stone walls heavy with a history held tight by silence and dust. You shift your footing deliberately, the cold stone floor biting against your bare soles, anchoring you in this ancient sanctum. Your hand glides over the rough grain of the alcove's woodwork, tracing unseen grooves and knots worn smooth by fingers long vanished. The faint amber glow from the lantern pools softly, casting shadows that writhe like slow-moving smoke. Shadows that reach and curl, blurring the boundary between stone and air. A breath of wind slips silently through a crack overhead, carrying with it a fleeting note of jasmine and dry earth, an echo of a distant grove long swallowed by sand. You inhale it slowly, tasting the dryness that laces the air, feeling your own pulse settle into a rhythm matched by the quiet murmur of the archive. Each heartbeat sends a subtle tremor through your fingertips, clutching the papyrus, an unspoken plea to listen harder, to hold still longer. Your gaze searches the depths of the passage beyond the alcove, where shadows gather thick and secretive. The scrape returns, a timid, hesitant sound, like a whispered script traced over stone, light enough to rattle only your nerves. You hold your breath, tension coiling tight beneath your ribs, muscles placid but primed for the slightest change. Yet the silence swallows the sound again, folding it into the vastness. You move with a measured slowness, stepping past shelves groaning beneath their fragile cargo. The air grows cooler, scent rich now with the faint musk of cracked leather and forgotten candle smoke. Your fingertips brush against an iron clasp, its cold metal gleaming faintly, a sharp contrast to the soft papyrus and worn wood. The links of chained scrolls catch the dim light, a cold web of locks holding knowledge captive, their presence a tether between past and present. As you approach a wider chamber, the walls adorned with crumbling frescoes, your senses sharpen. Faint cracks run like fragile veins through the paint, peeling with time's slow patience. The colors, deep ochres and muted siennas, mingle with dusty whites, forming a tapestry quiet and fragile, like a breath held too long. A gust winds through, lifting a corner of a loose scroll, the flutter as gentle as moth wings. You lean forward, fingertips steadying the delicate page, revealing spirals of script so faint they seem alive, curling beneath the flickering light like roots reaching through earth. The weight of guessing histories presses heavy, your mind tracing half-remembered words that feel like echoes of warnings whispered long ago. Behind you, the scrape sharpens, deliberate now, threading like cold fingers along stone edges. You pause, heart thudding, not in alarm, but in measured caution. The shadows retreat and advance, a slow tide of darkness shifting just beyond your sight. The air ripples, faint as a sigh drawn low, and a chill whispers across your neck. You close your eyes briefly, letting your breath steady, the cool air soothing like water running over worn stone. When you open them, the lantern's glow flickers weakly, casting the chamber in a tentative haze of gold and ashen gray. Your senses tingle with the fragile blend of threat and preservation, the sacred balance between watchful protection and encroaching unknown. Reaching for a cabinet carved with ancient symbols, your fingers brush over the deep grooves, following them like a map etched by time. The scent here deepens, an earthy hum underscored by faint traces of lavender. A guardianship born of nature's gentle hand. You wonder fleetingly about the lives that tended this place, the hands that guarded knowledge through endless nights. The looming stillness weighs heavier as you draw closer to the heart of the archive. A scroll stand waits beneath a vaulted alcove, empty but for a single sealed case. You extend your fingers, the carved wood, warm despite the chill, a quiet contrast to the brittle, sun-bleached surfaces surrounding it. The faded glow of the lantern dances across delicate carvings, symbols twisted and interwoven like slow-growing vines on ancient stone. A soft sound punctuates the silence, a breath along your ear, a caress of movement just beyond the curve of your vision. You turn, slow and deliberate, eyes straining to trace the shadow's edge. It flickers, intangible as smoke, shifting with patient grace. The faintest sigh wafts from the stalled air, fragile as a promise whispered beneath the dusty rafters. Your grip tightens around the scroll fragment, heart steady amidst the currents of apprehension and curiosity. The cold stone presses upward through your souls, a reminder that you remain rooted here, keeper of secrets, watcher of silent stories. The air thickens once more with the scent of jasmine and dry earth mingled with latent mystery. And yet, just when the stillness seems absolute, a low whisper threads through the archive, a single word, barely there, a name carried softly on the breath of wind. It coils like smoke around your senses, drawing you deeper into the shadowed fold beyond the lantern's reach. You step forward, and the ancient stone beneath you trembles ever so faintly. You step cautiously into the widening alcove, the faint glow of the lantern washing over the ancient carvings etched into the stone. The surfaces are cool beneath your fingertips, their worn indentations telling stories older than your memory. Every curve and line absorbs the hesitant light and returns it softened, like the faint glow of embers hidden beneath ash. Your breath moves slow, deliberate, as the chill air curls gently through the narrow space, tracing wisps along the contours of the statues flanking the passage. A gentle scrape whispers from deeper within the shadows, subtle, like a hesitant question asked in the dark. Your heart pulses steadily, a deep drum beneath frozen muscles, while your feet shift minutely on the cold floor. Each stone beneath the sole bears the weight of time, pressing upward with a fragile insistence that anchors you here. The air carries the mingled scents of cracked leather, dry earth, and a delicate trace of jasmine, faint as a half-remembered dream hovering at the edge of memory. You draw your gaze upward, where the ceiling arches high and rough-hewn, its surface mottled with faded ochres and dusty grays. The cracked paint whispers of long-forgotten histories, layers peeling slowly like the pages of an ancient book left open to the wind. Somewhere behind you, the murmur of the desert wind flutters through a narrow fissure, drawing the scent of dry sage and distant stone into the cramped space, a reminder of the vastness beyond these hidden walls. One step, another, you inch forward, fingers trailing lightly over the uneven stone pillars. The surface is jagged, yet strangely warm under your touch, as if the sun's last breath lingers still. The scrape returns, a soft sound rising and falling like a tentative heartbeat. Your breath catches, shallow, as if the air itself has thickened, a viscous river swirling around your senses, pulling you forward into a deeper, more fragile silence. Ahead, a narrow draft sways loose parchment resting on a broken shelf, trembling with the faint stir of wind. You reach slowly, your fingers trembling over the brittle edge, feeling the delicate ridges of papyrus beneath the skin. The faded ink curls like ancient vines through the fibers, its language a silent melody of half-spoken truths. The air is thick with dust and the subtle musk of forgotten time. You lean close, the faint jasmine scent rising again like an old lullaby, steadying your pulse as your breath mingles with the papyri's fragile whisper. Then a subtle shift. A shadow uncoils at the periphery of your vision. It moves with the slow patience of drifting smoke, intangible but certain, curling just beyond where you can see. Your fingers tighten around the scroll, a protective grip rooted in hesitant resolve. The chill deepens, slipping like quicksilver across bare skin. You sense the weight of eyes unseen, watching and waiting with quiet breath, as the ancient archive holds its secrets a moment longer. You back away slowly, retracing hesitant footprints over polished stone, each step echoing like the faint tick of a distant clock. The scent of burnt candle wax mingles with cold metal and dust, weaving a tapestry of tangibility through the gloom. Your fingertips brush the cold links binding the chained scrolls, there, dull silver, catching flecks of lantern light as fragile guardians of forbidden knowledge. A faint sigh rises from the shadows, a soft exhale brushing past your ear, carrying with it the bitter sweetness of lavender. Sharp, fleeting, like a whispered goodbye. Your chest tightens briefly, the sound threading strands of cool urgency through the lingering stillness. The scrape sharpens again, purposeful, now, fingernails grazing stone in a slow rhythm that seems to echo your own racing pulse. You press your palm against the rough wall, feeling the rough texture bite softly into your skin. A tactile tether to the present as the shadows weave and converge. The distant thrum of desert wind hums low, a subtle cadence beneath the oppressive silence. A single bead of sweat traces a slow path down. Your temple, cool against the heat kindling deep in your chest. In the fading lantern light, a small niche reveals a delicate tapestry draped over cracked stone, a thin veil embroidered with faded golden threads that catch the glow like tiny stars lost in twilight. The fabric rustles quietly in the draft, brushing the worn symbol of an ancient guardian stitched faintly into its edge. You feel a fragile comfort emanate from the textile, a fleeting warmth amid the growing chill. Your fingers close gently around the edge of the tapestry, lifting it just enough to reveal a narrow opening behind, an unmarked door, its surface cracked and splintered with age. A faint draft exhales from the dark threshold, carrying with it the scent of cold earth and something else, something faintly metallic, like distant rain striking dry stone. The air here tastes different, thicker, charged with quiet tension and deep anticipation. As you peer inward, the shadows shift again, deeper and darker, folding into themselves like slow waves retreating over blackened sands. The faint murmur of unseen footsteps falls into place somewhere far beyond, soft as fallen leaves brushing a winter forest floor. The scrape ceases, replaced by a heavy breath drawn in the depths beyond, close enough to touch, yet unreachable. The lantern flickers once more, casting trembling light across your skin as you stand on the edge of discovery and danger. The silence stretches taut, a fragile thread straining against the dark, until, barely audible, a slow whisper slips. Cold air like smoke. Your name. You step back from the narrow doorway, the faded tapestry slipping silently from your fingers to settle like a forgotten sigh against the stone floor. The unmarked door yawns before you, its cracked surface marked by time, whispering of secrets sealed deeper than any lock or chain. The air here is thick, almost viscous, wrapping around your skin like a damp shroud drawn tight against the chill. Faint traces of metal and earth mingle in the draft, a scent both sharp and ancient, teasing the edges of memory you cannot quite grasp. Your bare feet press cautiously into the cold stone, the texture uneven and worn smooth by centuries of footsteps long vanished. Each careful step echoes faintly, a delicate rhythm beating through the stillness, as if the archive itself unfolds with your movements. Dust motes drift lazily in the scant light, their slow waltz suspended in the almost palpable silence. You feel the slow pulse of your own breath, steady and deliberate, filling the cavernous space between walls heavy with forgotten lore. The flickering glow of the lantern wavers, casting pale halos along the rough stone. Shadows pool and lengthen, shifting like restless dreams creeping from corners where the light barely reaches. A soft exhale stirs the air, the rustle of shifting fabric, barely audible. A breath caught between moments, a secret sliding just beyond reach. Your fingers tighten around the scroll fragment, its brittle fibers whispering fragile promises as if urging you forward. You move a fraction deeper into the chamber, the floor curving gently beneath your soul, like the hull of some ancient vessel adrift in time. The walls close in subtly, carved with reliefs of twisting vines and half-forgotten glyphs, their forms muted by layers of dust and shadow. The scent of cracked leather blends with the dryness of papyrus. Beneath it, a faint sweetness, jasmine mingled with lavender, hovering like a memory, whispered through sealed lips. A soft tap, the scrape of fingernail against stone, resounds again. Slower now, deliberate, like a heartbeat measured in broken seconds. You hold perfectly still, muscles taut but calm, attuned to the rhythm of the archive's breath. The sound fades, replaced by something deeper, a steady, dragging scrape, almost imperceptible, tracing the length of the far wall. Your skin prickles where shadows seem to bend closer. Curious eyes, unseen, tracking each motion. You press a hand against the cold wall to steady yourself, rough stone biting gently into your palm. The texture grounds you as you inch forward, fingertips grazing the rough grain of a nearby wooden stand. A single candle flickers atop it, half melted, its flame trembling with the breath of the desert wind filtered through cracks above. The wax pools slowly, thick and honeyed, catching flickers of light, like distant stars trapped beneath molten amber. Leaning close, you touch the curled edge of a nearby scroll, still chained fast. The cold metal threads through your fingers, a sharp contrast to the soft papyrus, binding the past in silent vigilance. You trace the contours of a faded seal pressed into the faded wood, an emblem both intricate and worn, resembling a thorned crown nestling a single dark jewel. Its presence hums with forgotten authority, a warning, or perhaps a welcome, barely decipherable in the stillness. The scent of jasmine fades slightly, replaced by the dry, earthy tang of distant rain upon sun-baked stone, the kind of soundless freshness after a desert storm long past. Your eyes adjust to the gloom, seeking shapes behind the veil of shadow and time. Just beyond the lantern's glow, a slight shift, a motion like smoke curling lazily upward, draws your gaze. The scrap of fabric slides again, a whisper lost among the stone. Something watches. You feel the weight of unseen company, patient and still, threaded into the very air you breathe. The faintest touch of cold brushes across your neck, as if the chamber sighs softly, remembering you. The paper fragment stirs lightly in your hand, as though alive to the presence cloaked just beyond the edges of sight. You step back, the stone grinding cold beneath your soles. fingertips brushing once more against the scroll's brittle skin. The room seems to shudder inward, walls contracting with a slowness that feels like deliberate breathing. The lantern flickers lower, shadows deepen. A sudden whisper coils through the quiet, a curling thread of sound that spirals and dips, unfinished. Your name, drawn long and low, as if spoken beneath the breath of passing time. Your heart beats steady as the cold unease threading through the cool air. You wonder if you have crossed some unseen boundary, if these ancient words and whispered breaths mark the edge of something waiting to awaken. Then, in the muted glow, the unmarked door creaks open just a fraction. A slow, deliberate movement that ripples through the chamber like a pulse. Beyond the threshold, darkness folds inward, thick and velvety, promising revelation and peril intertwined. You hesitate, the worn keys heavy in your palm, your breath caught in the fragile stillness, poised between retreat and the silent call of secrets waiting to be uncovered. And as the door yields further, a faint shimmer glints just beyond, like a single wavering flame, flickering at the heart of endless night. You step back from the narrow doorway, the fabric of the tapestry slipping from your grasp like a slow sigh settling against cold stone. Bare feet press cautiously into the worn floor, uneven, yet steady beneath your weight. The air hangs thick here, heavy with the scent of dry earth and faint metal, a mingling sharp enough to brush your senses like a wind carrying distant rain on cracked stone. The silence seems to lean closer, folding like velvet shadows around your chest, tightening the space between breath and sound, between past and waiting. The lantern's glow trembles on the walls, casting wavering shapes that stretch and curl around ancient glyphs. Your fingertips trail along the carved reliefs, rough and cool, each groove a line of history long forgotten. The faint musk of leather and lingering candle smoke curls upward, a quiet remnant of rituals now faded. The stone breathes beneath you, each hollow footfall a pulse matching the slow rhythm of your own heart. Dust drifts in reluctant spirals, whispering slow stories as it floats. You lean in toward the darkened threshold, eyes drawing shapes from shadows thickened by centuries. The unseen moves just beyond the edges of sight, tentative and patient, as if biding its time. The soft scrape returns, deliberate, like fingernails trailing across ancient stone, each scrape a question unanswered, a breath held tight between wary silence. Your breath slows, deliberate and shallow, syncing with the subtle pulse vibrating beneath the floor. The faint scent of jasmine flutters softly, like a hint of a forgotten lullaby. It merges with the dry air, a whisper brushing over skin that prickles in anticipation. You feel the weight of the scroll fragment, still cradled in your hand, its faded script an echo of voices. Once lost, your fingers tighten their grip, tracing the fragile curves as though drawing strength from their delicate memory. Around you, the stone walls seem to hum faintly, a low undercurrent beneath the quiet, a secret heartbeat held in place by time itself. Moving carefully, you step over small patches of settling dust and grit, each step measured to avoid disturbing the silence too harshly. The cracked surface of the floor grinds gently beneath your weight. Half-melting shadows, shifting with the flickering light. A dry breath stirs near your ear, subtle and elusive. The scent of lavender threads through the cool air, sharp and fleeting. Your pulse quickens, not with fear, but with that slow, gnawing certainty of presence. Watching, waiting. Your gaze drifts upward, where the ceiling arches, high, swollen with faint ochres and muted grays, cracked with secrets and time. The cool stone presses its rough promise into your outstretched fingertips, a solid anchor in a place where everything else seems poised between real and unreal. The lantern's flame dances, casting trembling golden filaments along the rough-hewn surfaces, weaving warmth where cold and shadow threaten to overwhelm. You pause at a narrow alcove where a carved wooden stand holds a faded scroll. Bound carefully, but left slightly ajar, as if inviting your careful eyes. The parchment is brittle, curling with age, and the ink is faded to a ghostly whisper of words almost lost. Your fingers hover above it, sensing the history folded deep in the delicate fibers, the weight of secrets etched beneath fragile surfaces. Cold metal clasps catch the dim light, cool and biting between your palms, a reminder that some knowledge demands burden and care. The subtle scrape crescendos softly, merging with the steady rhythm of your breath and heartbeat. It flows through the narrow chamber like a slow tide, pressing into the thick air. You turn cautiously, sensing movement at the periphery, a wraith-like shift of shadow just beyond your vision. The chill deepens as if something unseen brushes past your skin, a breath trailing cool warmth where none should be. A faint sigh unfurls quietly, barely more than a whisper pooling in the air. It carries the scent of distant rain on dry stone. Weight of stillness settles heavier now, pressing the moment into sharp focus, yet soft as falling ash. Your fingers brush again over the scroll fragment, fragile as a breath, and you sense the pull, the delicate thread stretching outward from history into the present. The air shivers, cold and sharp, and the shadow deepens, folding like smoke drawn inward. You step back slowly, grounding yourself on the rough stone, muscles taut but steady, heart a slow drum inside a vessel of silence. Between the flickers of lantern light, an unmarked door looses a faint sigh as it creaks open, just a fraction, a slow giving way that ripples through the heavy stillness. Beyond its threshold, darkness waits, thick and unyielding, a velvet abyss that swallows sound and time alike. The air here tastes charged, thickened with anticipation and the unsaid promise of unraveling mysteries. Your breath catches, hanging in the dense air as fingers tighten around the worn keys, a familiar weight folded into endless watchfulness. The cold silk of the scroll presses close, its brittle surface a fragile lifeline amid the shadows. You teeter on the edge between retreat and revelation, drawn forward by the silent call. Then, faint yet clear, a single shimmer flickers just beyond the dark, an ember of light twisting and waning like a solitary flame caught in an endless night. You stand at the threshold, the unmarked door yawning open, just enough to spill a ribbon of shadow into the lantern's soft glow. The air beyond is thick and still, a quiet promise hanging in those moments before the unknown unfolds. The heavy keys lie cool and steady in your palm, a reminder of the duty you have carried through endless hours, the guardian of forgotten words and silent histories. With a breath drawn slow and even, you step forward into the darkness. The stone floor beneath your feet, cool and reassuring, grounding you in the silence as it stretches and holds. The faint scent of jasmine and lavender lingers, weaving through the cold air like a whispered benediction, easing the weight borne on your shoulders. Each careful footstep echoes a final chapter, and the archive's breath seems to slow in reverence. Inside the quiet chamber, ancient glyphs climb the walls, their faded curves a delicate dance of memory and time. The air tastes of dry earth and distant rain, as if the archive itself exhales a release, the tension melting slowly into something softer, a gentle closing of a vast, secret book. The brittle scroll you carry rests warm against your palm, its fragile script now a silent companion to this last vigil. You move to a carved pedestal at the room's center, where an ornately sealed case awaits. Its surface is cracked but proud, alcove shadows flitting across the weathered wood like quiet testimonies to all that was entrusted here. Slowly, reverently, you slide the keys along the worn grooves, pushing open the ancient lock that has sealed these mysteries for centuries. The lid creaks open, the sound a measured sigh, not the scream of revelation, but the gentle breathing of secrets, finally allowed to rest. Inside, the scrolls nestle in careful order, fragile yet somehow enduring, a legacy folded into the soft cadence of time. You trace them with fingertips barely daring to disturb, the parchment's roughness a reminder of the human hands that pressed ink, the minds that dreamed knowledge into being. An ancient lullaby hums in your mind, harmonizing with the desert wind's muted song through cracks above, a refrain of endings and beginnings intertwined. The air grows warmer as the first light of dawn creeps through narrow fissures, painting the stones in quiet gold. Shadows that loomed now retreat, folding back into the archive's gentle embrace. Relief washes over you in slow waves, the endless vigil drawing to a close, the burden handed back to time's careful keeping. The silence, no longer presses so thickly. It feels like a soft quilt wrapped around the heart, tender and vast. You pause, letting the moment stretch, notes of jasmine rising with the warm light, soothing the ache woven into your bones. Stepping back from the pedestal, you hold the worn keys close, one last time, the weight now lighter. Ahead, the darkened corridors seem less foreboding, touched with the promise of a daylight waiting beyond walls, whispered to hold forever. The scroll fragment in your hand flutters slightly, as if stirred by this newfound peace, its inked lines whispering a quiet farewell. As your gaze drifts upward, the ancient ceiling arches high and calm, a vault of stone softened by the first sunbeam. The carved reliefs, once shadows worn thin by time, glow faintly, as if acknowledging your passage through this nocturnal watch. The air hums with a stillness that is no longer heavy, but full of memory laid to rest and hope gently rekindled. You sink slowly onto the cold stone bench nearby, its surface rough but steady beneath your touch, the tactile anchor grounding you in this liminal space between night and day. Fingers brush the cool marble, tracing invisible histories embedded deep in the mortar. Silent echoes of those who once stood here, watchers before you in a chain of vigilant hands. Outside, the desert wind sighs softer now, threading through broken windows and unseen cracks, carrying away the solemn shadows like whispers dispersing in dawn. A faint warmth stirs within you, a subtle glow of completion, wrapped gently around the weariness, a quiet knowing that the story held here is now safe to sleep. Your breath comes long and slow, the rhythm settling to match the soft pulse of awakening light. The scent of lavender trails faintly in your memory, a tender thread woven into the air's cool fabric, drawing your senses inward to rest. The scrolls stand silent, not as captives, but as keepers of a fragile, enduring peace. Eyes closing gently, you lean back against the stone, the chill softened by the warm ascent of morning light. The stillness enfolds you like a lullaby, slow and sure, inviting a quiet surrender. The archive breathes with you, an ancient heart finally allowed to rest, and the heavy keys slip softly from your fingers, settled now into the deep calm of this last vigil. In this moment between shadow and sun, the vast silence sings a gentle song of endings, not of final farewells, but of promises kept, stories preserved, and peace found in the slow turning of timeless pages. And so, the night folds gently away, drawing the curtain closed on your watch. The desert's breath, the whispered scents, the fragile parchment, all rest, carried forward by the steady dawn. A final sigh of peace lingers in the cool air, as the library now sleeps, its secrets cradled safely in the calm. Breathe deep, enveloped in this quiet sanctuary, and let your mind drift softly into the gentle embrace of rest, carried by the echoes of stories told and the soothing hush of silence kept.